Alright, what's up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are back with spoiler season. I haven't touched spoilers in a long time. Um, but I just saw that there was a new Avacyn. I got so excited because, I love Avacyn. Avacyn is one of my favorite Magic characters just because she's just such a badass. Her art's really badass on her old card. The latest card they printed in M15 was kind of crappy. Made me really sad. It was a kind of card that I don't even want to put into my Avacyn deck. But I might have to revisit that, just because I love Avacyn. I've been playing a lot of Heliod. I think he's a better actual commander. Avacyn is in that deck. But anyways, just came back and I watched Deadpool with one of my good friends. That was pretty funny. I haven't seen a comic book movie be so inappropriate and actually have lots of innuendo. Actually, maybe they have. I don't watch a lot of the comic book movies because they keep coming out and I can't keep up with them. Like, how many Avengers are there? How many Iron Man? It's insane. And now there's a Captain America versus Iron Man. Like, what? They are really trying to cash in on these comic book movies. What do you guys think about that? I would like to know what your comments are because the X-Men as well. There's X-Men Alliance, this and that, this and that. I can't. I don't know. I don't even know which X-Men movie I haven't seen because they all have these like tags at the end that don't really tell you what happened in the movie. Um, but anyways, I'm digressing. So this new Avacyn card, I'm just going to go over the spoilers so far, because it's a little exciting. I actually don't really like this new 2-set format. I like the 3-set. It gives you a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the current set so far, it's like beginning, end, which it doesn't really give me complete idea of what's going on in the story. Like Cons was a little bit different because they kind of inverted the whole thing, but like with Innistrad, which is the newest Shadows over Innistrad, with last Innistrad you had Innistrad, which showed, the humans fighting off the werewolves, the vampires, they're trying to defend their town. So it's basically humans versus all the demons and creatures. And then in Dark Ascension, it showed the scenario getting worse. So that's like in a story, you have beginning, and then you have the climax, and the climax is like when everything bad is happening or everything is kind of at its peak. And then Avacyn Restored was the resolution. Avacyn comes out of the Hell Vault, Grizzlebane comes out of the Hell Vault, and peace is restored, the angels come back, and if you notice, Avacyn Restored Black was actually the worst limited color. Trying to play Black was not a good idea in that format, which kind of fit the theme of the set, even though that was a standalone set, it's cool to have those standalone sets like Rise of Eldrazi and Avacyn Restored. But anyways, they're in 2-set format, so this is going to be the first set of the next set, Shadows of Innistrad, and I don't know the next name. To be honest, I just haven't been paying a lot of close attention to Magic. My decks are actually pretty out of date. I actually need to find new cards that could belong. Problem is tickets are in short supply. I'm actually going to record a game right after this. I'm kind of in a Magic-y mood lately. I've been playing more and more games. I've been getting better games just playing. I don't know what it was, but a couple of months ago when I was trying to play games, I just get like 3-turn games. I get a Soul Ring out of luck. Person quits. Or they get a Soul Ring and they crush you right away. But I've had games where your opponent has a really good start and I grind it out. And either I grind it out and it's close and we have a good game, or I grind it out and maybe I come back, or some kind of medium length games. I'm gonna actually do some replays, I think, because I just want to kind of highlight those events, and I've been playing with some decks I haven't played with in a while. So don't think I forgot about you guys. I always say that I don't, and it's true, I don't forget. My dog sitting on the window ledge in his favorite spot. It's about 11:11, and it's 11:11. Make a wish. So I saw this card, Archangel Avacyn. She's 3 white, obviously legendary creature, angel. She has flash, which is interesting. She's basically a 4/4 flyer for 5 mana, which is an air elemental, which is okay. Flash makes it better. Flying is air elemental and vigilance, so that's kind of cool. Vigilance is a nice thing to have. When she enters the battlefield, creatures you control gain indestructible on end of turn, and when a non-angel creature you control dies, transform her. So there's a couple things you can do with her. This seems more of a limited kind of card, Possibly it's constructed playable, but I don't think it will be. I think it might. I'm no constructed standard genius. I don't think I see it going outside of standard, but so there's two things you can do. You can flash it in, give all your guys indestructible, block their creature, kill them. She gets indestructible as well, and kind of blow out your opponent that way. Or you can let a creature die, like chump block, flash her in end of turn, end step, and then you get the transform Avacyn the Purifier. Basically, you end up with a 6/5 haste person because she transforms at the end, the next upkeep. Sorry, not end step. And then you can attack for 6 in the air, but she does lose vigilance at that point, which kind of sucks. But red doesn't really get vigilance very often. I don't even know if it's secondary or tertiary in that color. Probably not. I think it's secondary in green. Color pie people can always feel free to comment below and let me know. So, problems with Avacyn. I mostly play EDH. The flash makes her a lot more predictable, so you're not going to be able to do those kind of blowouty things as much. People will just hold back, so maybe you could use her in more of a control defensive deck, but I'm not super happy about Avacyn. You can actually scroll down. This is from mythicspoiler.com. I'll give them credit because I like their layout. Let's scroll down on the screen and see the old Avacyns. Sorry if they're a little smaller, but I love the original Avacyn. Just look at that art. I mean, she's basically flying to the top of a church or near the top of a church. Got an aura around her, and an 8/8 for 8 mana, flying vigilance. Everything you have is indestructible. Just awesome. And then they printed this thing for an M15. Obviously, they printed that one at Rare and not Mythic, and it's something that I've never really wanted to play with or try to get. Maybe I'll get a full copy. Maybe she's dirt cheap, and I'll just get one anyway. So, the reason I have to have the screen wide is because there's flip cards in this set, and the front page of Mythic Spoiler doesn't give you the flip cards. But I just want to go over some of the cards I think are cool or interesting or whatnot. This is just kind of spoiler review so far. It's only 3/5/16, but I've noticed a lot more have been coming out lately. Alright, so we've seen Avacyn. Now we can look at Geralf's Masterpiece. So he's a 5 mana, 7/7 flyer. Like, whoa, that's pretty insane. But he gets -1/-1 card for each card in your hand. He's a zombie and a horror. And then you can discard 3 cards to return him from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So he's very similar, has similar flavor to that. What was that flyer? It was like a, oh god, it was a 1 blue, like 4/5 or 5/6 flyer where you had to exile 3 cards. You could cast it from your graveyard. I actually opened that card in only Innistrad draft I did. I opened that card and I failed miserably. Someone can say the name. I can't look it up right now, but anyways, he kind of reminds me of that card. I don't think this will be a constructed card. It'll probably be okay and limited. Maybe not even. It's probably not worth first picking if there's a good removal spell. I think it's got some limitations. That's Teddy Bark growling in the background. Hold on, let me pause the video for a sec. Alright, so we're back. So unfortunately, I'm not really good at video editing, but I can't resize the window while I'm recording. I'll try to figure that out for the future. But this Relentless Dead card, as you see on the left there, is I think was released today or yesterday, maybe probably yesterday because it was a Friday. That card will be good in limited and constructed. Mono black, obviously, and maybe black something else, but I don't think this will, because this actually could even be pretty damn good in Commander and EDH, just because it lets you return any other target zombies. So if this thing dies, you can get it back, and then you can also get back other zombies. So yeah, I think this card's gonna be seeing a lot of play I can't say it, overall. And you've got this sweet angel background, stained glass. It looks like the zombies are breaking through the glass. As you see, it's broken. If you know the card Endless Ranks of the Dead, I think that's an homage to that to that art, because that Endless Ranks of the Dead was a zombie related card where all the zombies were trying to get into the church. It's not referenced here, but look up Endless Ranks of the Dead if you're not familiar with that card, and it looks like the Endless Ranks of the Dead have broken through into the Church of Avacyn. Poor Avacyn. She turned evil. It makes me sad. Maybe not evil, but she turned angry. Devil's Playground. I don't know what this says. 4-1. I can't even read that. That is no bueno. Maybe if I click on it, it'll tell me. Put 4/1/1 red evil token battlefield. They have when this creature dies, also on the check for it. Yeah, just a limited card. Maybe there's some use for it in some EDH strategies. Nothing that I am too aware of. And then we got Duskwatch Recruiter. A 2 mana. He's also a werewolf, so he's a flip card. So we're going to have to find out what this dude does. 1 in a green, 2/2, so he's playable, at least in limited at the very least. Look at the top 3 cards to your library. You may reveal a creature card from among them. Put them into your hand, put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom of your library in order. Beginning of your upkeep, if no spells were cast this turn, then transform him. So he's got the typical werewolf transform mechanic. Now let's see what he does on the back. That could be interesting. Alright. So he turns into this card, Crowling Howler. Creatures you cast cost something. Creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. If 2 spells or more are cast in the same turn, you transform him back. So his first ability is really good. I mean, even in Commander, just spending 3 extra mana that you might have to try and dig for a free creature is pretty sweet. The thing is, though, is if you dig for creatures, then he transforms and you get a 3/3. So you either get like a guy that can kind of hit people and then makes your guys that you found cheaper to cast, or you can just dig for more creatures. So he's actually got really nice synergy with himself, that the fact that you can use your mana if you have nothing to cast to find a creature, then he flips, and then the next turn, if your opponent doesn't flip him back, the guy that you just found is cheaper. It's a pretty nice card. I can see people playing that in Commander. I don't think I've ever seen werewolves ever played in Commander at all. Probably because most of them aren't very good. But this one I like. Alright, we're back. Declaration of Stone. Declaration in Stone. Exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with that same name as that creature. Are they going to reprint Pack Rat? That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. So investigate's a new mechanic for this set. Investigate means you get to put a colorless artifact onto the battlefield, which has pay 2 colorless, and sacrifice this token to draw a card. So you basically can exile a creature, and then they can draw a card for each card. That doesn't seem too great. Target creature. I guess you could do it to your own creatures. So if you made this has to be a token. Oh, non-tokens don't count, so you can't abuse it in that manner. I don't think that card's very good. Maybe I'm wrong. And then we have our new Delver of Secrets. You can tell the art is this almost, very similar art to the original Delver. It's also a 3/2 flyer. Costs 3 and a blue. He's a flying. At the beginning of your upkeep, put the top card of your library into your graveyard. If it's an instant sorcerer, you transform him. It's like Delver 2.0, but why didn't they just give him the same name? I guess they can't name the card the same, because then they would have 2 cards in the database with the same name. Aberrant Researcher. Why couldn't they just have called him Insectile Researcher? Because he's still insectile, right? He's flying. Still got weird arms and legs. And if you want to see what he becomes Perfected Form. He's made himself even better. He's a 5/4 flyer. And now he's an insect horror, so he's not a human anymore. Darn, he lost his humanity. But that's interesting. I like how that they put they made this kind of little weird bump to the card frame to let you know what's on the other side. I think that this will help with gameplay. So in case these cards are usually going to be sleeved up, so your opponent or maybe you, if you're new to the card, don't have to take the card out of the sleeve and flip over. Just so you know what the power and toughness is. This card will see play in limited, obviously, but it's this isn't gonna see constructed play. I've seen people put Delver in their commander decks, but don't do that. We have Mind Rack Demon, 2 black demons that are cheap flyers and big bodies. They've got to have a drawback, right? Flying Trample. This sounds good. When he enters the battlefield, put the top 4 of cards of your library into your graveyard. Okay, that could be an advantage. That's not actually a bad thing all the time. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you lose 4 life unless there are 4 or more cards types among cards in your graveyard. So, 4 mana, 4/5 flyer. Why they didn't just make him a 4 mana 4/4? Because 4 mana, you've got 4 cards, 4 life, 4 card types, 4 power, and then 5 toughness. Maybe just to make his power level. Maybe he wasn't. There might be some 4 mana burn spells or something in this deck. Not deck, but in this format, or a lot of 4 powered creatures. I'm not quite sure, but I think he might see constructed play, but I'm not quite sure. But this is kind of a cool effect. The art's kind of wacky. He looks like a plant demon, like so. This reminds me like a Venus flytrap. But whatever. I would never play this in Commander unless you had like a really beat downy black deck. And then this card, Incorrigible Youth. This art makes me laugh. 5 mana, haste and madness. So madness is seeing its way back into the field of magic. So it'll be interesting to see what nice things you can do. I don't know how fond people are of madness. I actually played somebody who had a madness deck one time. I think I accidentally ended up in like Freeform or something, or no, I ended up in the modern section. I was playing with a really old like basic standard deck that I made out of like starter cards and stuff, and he had a madness deck and I had somehow won. And that card is nothing to write home about. And then Clip Wings. Each opponent sacrifices a creature with flying. Interesting. Maybe you could use this in Commander. I guess it's kind of a narrow card, but I've seen people put even more narrow cards like Pyroblast into their Commander decks. So who knows? Okay, bygones be bygones. Bygone Bishop, 2 and a white for a 2/3 flyer. Not too bad. Whenever you cast a creature spell with converted mass command cost 3 or less, investigate. This card reminds me of Mentor of the Meek, where whenever you cast a creature spell, I think it was with power 2 or less. Oh man, I forget that text. But if you paid 1 mana, you got to draw a card. So you get to put a colorless clue artifact to the token on the battlefield with pay 2, sacrifice the artifact, draw a card. So these clues are going to be pretty interesting. Let me see if they show Mentor of the Meek. So that card reminded me of Mentor of the Meek, but they're not including it in their thesaurus. Like this website's pretty nice if you've never seen it, mythicspoiler.com. If you click on a lot of these cards, they like to have a little thesaurus. So if you know what thesaurus is, let's say you look up the word hate, it'll give you a word that's very similar to the word hate, like despise, or if you want to say glide, one of them could be soar or something like that. But they didn't put Mentor of the Meek. I just feel like they have a very kind of similar idea to them. This card is interesting. It could be seen in a white weenie deck. It wouldn't be bad. And I don't know a lot of things you can do with clues yet. I don't know if there's any EDH implications to clues, but it's a new idea, and I actually kind of like this clue and investigate mechanic. I don't like all of the new mechanics. Some of them feel very contrived and forced, but this one's kind of cool. And then this is a pretty interesting card. Compelling Deterrence. So return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Then that player discards a zombie card. Discards a card if you control a zombie. And that art is wild. There's this four-armed zombie. It looks kind of like Grimgrin, doesn't it? I haven't looked at Grimgrin in a while. But that dude is getting the hell out of the way. So it's basically a disperse with an upside, because if you have a zombie, they have to discard. But also, when you think about it, Madness is in this set, and if you didn't know what Madness was, you can rewind back to that card I just looked at. But Madness means if you discard a card, you can discard it into exile, and then when you do, you can cast it for its Madness cost instead of putting it into the graveyard. So you could potentially, and usually the Madness cost is cheaper, and sometimes I think Madness, when you pay the Madness cost, you can get a special effect. So you could do this to somebody. You could bounce their creature, or their non-land permanent, but you can use it on a creature, of course, and then they could discard, to Madness something else that you didn't expect. So this could be a drawback, it could be an upside, and another thing that could be bad, you could try to save your own creature. A lot of people use Disperse to save a creature or save an enchantment, and then if you don't control a zombie, you have to discard something. So it's one of those cards that's not strictly better than Disperse, it just has other applications. So you can't say that this is strictly better than Disperse, which is, sometimes people say this is strictly better, but definitely not in all cases. Sorry if the formatting's a little weird. I haven't done a lot of these videos. Maybe I'll get better at video editing. Hopefully you guys appreciate it either way. So we have another flip card here, a Hair of Falcon Wrath. 1 in a black. For a vampire, so you vampire lovers, here you go, another vampire to stick in your deck. Discard a card, transform this thing, and activate it only once each turn. And as you can see, it becomes a 3/2, and we'll find out what that does on the other side. And again, discarding a card. We have Madness in this set. I don't think Flashback is going to be in this set. I love Flashback. I think Flashback was so awesome, especially with all the milling effects in Innistrad, but they probably didn't want to make the sets feel too quite like each other, even though the synergies with the graveyard work so well. And I know they've done Flashback several times. So, anyways, let's see what the other side says. So, you get to be Hair of the Night, and you get a 3/2 flyer. So you get a 2/1 beater or a 3/2 flyer, but you have to discard a card, and hopefully it's something you can afford to discard, or maybe an extra land, or not a great card. It's going to be fine and limited. A 2/1 for 2 is pretty much always going to limited, and if you've got Madness synergies, obviously that's a good thing. Alright, moving along, we've got a wolf with no name. For whatever reason, this website will grab cards as quickly as it can, even if they're in different language or if they're bad screen caps. It's a 1/2 wolf, haste, and it gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So there's a card, and I think it was Innistrad, that had a 1/2 stat. It was a wolf, and you could pay that kind of mana to give it +2/+0, but it had trample, I think, instead. I think it was 3 mana, 2 in a red. I would not be surprised if they replaced haste with trample, but this card isn't very good, so I don't even really care. Unless you like wolves and werewolves and you want to make a tribal deck. Then we have Quilled Wolf, which is 1 in a green for a 2/2. There you go. It's a grizzly bear. I have to make that Bear Force 1 deck again. If you haven't seen my Bear Force 1 decks, go to my channel, look at the playlists, and look for Bear Force 1. It's all about bears and 2/2s for 2 and things that are related to bears and as much as possible. But Quilled Wolf, pay 5 in a green, it gets +4/+4 until end of turn. So it's a fine card. I think you're going to play it every time you pick it in a green deck. And then it's got that late game applicability where you can sink mana into it and to make it a 6/6. So very well designed card and strictly better than Grizzly Bear. Unless your opponent steals it from you, then it's not strictly better. It's strictly bad for you. I'm going to use strictly better, strictly worse a lot lately. I don't know why. It just came into my mind. Alright. So we have a flip card again. Abyssinian Missionaries. So just looking at the art without looking at the artist's name, I can tell that's a Wayne Reynolds art. And look at the art. Yep, it's Wayne Reynolds. he has this very triangular style of drawing. If you go to the Gatherer or you go to mtgcards.info, I think it is. Yeah, at magiccards.info, you can search advanced search by author and look at Wayne Reynolds' art, and he always has these triangular designs. He designed the special edition Knights versus Dragon, or was it Knights? He designed one of the From the Vault Knights, or Knights versus Dragons, Knight of the Reliquary, and there's like triangles everywhere in that art. Also, he designed, I'm trying to think of another iconic one. I can't think of one offhand, but another one of the criticisms of his art is he always has like the main creature or person on the card thrusting their chest forward with their arms back. Maybe I'll make like a video about that just because I think it's kind of fascinating that he does that quite often. In this one, though, he has two main characters here, so they're not thrusting their chest forward with their arms back. I think he did Brute Force. It's a red equivalent of giant growth. Anyway, that's completely a digression of what we're talking about. But I just want, in case you didn't realize that, look up Wayne Reynolds' art. It's not bad art. He just tends to have a very, very, very distinct style, which is pretty cool. But when the poses are what get me. This one's different, so I actually appreciate that. And I love Avacyn. Avacyn's just awesome. It's a symbol of Avacyn, so there we go. 3 and a white, beginning of your end step. If it's equipped, transform it. I'm kind of excited to see what's on the other side. Okay. Lunarch Inquisitors. This is a little weird. I don't know how to say like this without coming off in a bad way. But they've got a guillotine behind them. They're 4/4, so they can become a 3/3. They go to a 4/4. And when it transforms, you may exile another target creature until they leave the battlefield. Those hoods are... The fact that they're wearing white robes and white hoods that are pointy is a little concerning. And then they have a torch, and it looks like they're like a lynch mob almost. This is... I don't know. Maybe I'm looking too deeply into this, but like... White's generally like the good color, or the fair color, or the color that wants balance and whatnot, and this is the dark side of white, apparently. It's the moon side. I don't know. I'm surprised that Wizards approved this art. This seems like this could be offensive to people, and I don't know if anyone else has commented on this because I haven't been on, the discussion forums and whatnot, but maybe I'm looking too deeply into this. But this art, if I was the artist director at Wizards, I don't know if I would approve this just because of the possible implications. And maybe you guys disagree. Maybe you guys are looking way too deeply into this. I mean, that doesn't look like a helmet. I mean, maybe it could be a helmet. If it's a helmet, I think that would be okay, but let me know what you guys think. I don't want to get into any political and racial discussions, and maybe I talk too much. But it's weird. I do think the guillotine is pretty cool. It reminds me of the French Revolution. I was actually just reading about Marie Antoinette the other day. I don't know why. That just came to my mind. But yeah, pretty cool axe. Pretty cool. I haven't seen a mace in a while. When was the last time a Magic art card had a mace? Anyways, we will go on to the next thing. Alright, this one's a little blurry because Lamplighter of Selhoff. So there was a Selhoff occultist in the last... it was an Innistrad. It was a 2 and a 3 that milled you or your opponent one card for every creature that died. So let's see what this one does. It's a zombie horror. When it enters the battlefield, if you control another zombie, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. So 3/5 for 5. It's basically a Siege Mastodon, a Thraben Purebloods. That wasn't an Innistrad. And then a couple Greyhounds in front of a fire. I don't know why Thraben Purebloods are as strong as the Siege Mastodon, but not great stats. The conditionality of the effect. It's probably something that you put as like your 22nd, 23rd card. Nothing too exciting. Definitely not playable in Commander. Unless you like zombies that much. tooth collector. Like, this card is hilarious. Like, look at this guy. He's got so many teeth. And where is he getting those huge ones from? You know, I actually just got my teeth pulled in February. Oh my god, I think it's my 1 month anniversary today from getting my teeth pulled. I had all 4 of them pulled, actually surgically removed. One of my teeth had a complication. I can actually show you the picture. It was upside down. My wisdom tooth was upside down. And I was in a lot of pain. I can still feel it. Maybe this guy did the work on me. Hopefully he has some Percocet to give you. But when he enters the battlefield, target creature your opponent controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn, so you can't accidentally kill your own creatures if that your opponents don't have one, which is nice. Delirium, interesting mechanic name. Beginning of opponent's upkeep, if there are 4 or more card types among cards in your graveyard, target creature that player controls gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So I think this will be a solid card in Constructed. He's not going to be amazing, not a first pick, but I think he's just a solid, okay uncommon. And I love the flavor. I think Innistrad is always great for flavor. And is he selling these things? Like, he looks like a guy who's at a Yankees game with a bunch of popcorns in front of him, or selling a whole thing of sodas or hot dogs. But he's got teeth instead. But he's in like a dungeon, so I don't know what he's doing. His face is hilarious. I'm sorry, I really enjoy it. I'm actually going to leave his face in this picture because it's funny. Magmatic Chasm. And there's Teddy. I think my sister's coming home. Hold on. Yep, Teddy's definitely. Alright, Teddy, you can chill out now. Yeah. Yeah, hold on. Alright, so I went through the rest of the spoilers just to see if there's anything else interesting, and most of them are like limited kind of cards. I think that's actually all that awesome. There is a spider that's right below Watcher on the Web. I guess we can look at that one real quick. And I can mention one more. But Magmatic Chasm is just a Falter, Stoic Builder, gets a land from your graveyard to your hand. I mean, that's probably okay. Nothing exciting. And then we've got, hold on a second, Watcher on the Web. When Watcher on the Web can block an additional 7 creatures in combat with, okay, that might be tough to like final blow your opponent if he's got this, because swing out, he's got reach. I think it's a pretty strong 2/5 for a common, maybe, who knows. And then I want to look at one more interesting card. This Eerie Interlude. 2 and a white, instant. Exile any number of target creatures you control, return them to the battlefield under their owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. So I know people like to make blink decks. There's cards like, God, I'm so bad with names recently. I don't know what's wrong with me. But blink decks, there's some white-blue blink decks. There's that Bant blink deck that was put in a commander set. And also it saves you from wraths and things like that, so I can see this seeing some play. It's a little bit narrow, but, if you've got a blink deck, you play a momentary blink, things of that nature, then you might love this card. You do have to target them, so if they have Shroud, you can't do it. But check out this website, mythicspoiler.com, if you've never heard of it before. There's one legendary artifact, which is actually the Shard of Broken Glass. That's from the Endless Ranks of the Dead, and also that first mythic zombie that had that plate glass or stained glass window behind it. And I guess this shows, is this guy bleeding? He's bleeding from the glass. That does not look like a good weapon. You get +1/+0. Whenever it attacks, you put the top 2 cards of your library into your graveyard. I'm not sure what the flavor is of using a piece of broken glass. It puts 2 things into your graveyard. But it's only 1. It's not quite... I think Bonesaw is a better card than this, but the art on this is pretty neat. I love stained glass, and... What's going on? This picture, this person looks frightened. You can see there's broken stained glass. But yeah, there's some reprints I'm seeing, and then there is... These cards aren't interesting to me. Lightning Axe, so that's another... Okay. Tamio's Journal. So Tamio may or may not be making a appearance. If you remember, Tamio's from Avacyn Restored. She just happened to show up. And like, why is Tamio here? She's like a Kamigawa, like Japanese kind of theme to her. And I guess the reason she's the Moon Sage, she came to the plane of Innistrad to study the moon and how it affected the plane of Innistrad. Because as you know, when the moon set, the whale world was transformed. People were transforming. So that's how they threw her in there. But at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate, so you have to put one of these tokens on the battlefield. It is pretty expensive at 5 mana. And then you can sacrifice 3 clues and search your library for a card and put it into your hand and shuffle your library. But you get to keep the journal. So I don't think it's constructed playable. I don't even know if it's limited playable. If the format's really fast, which it looks like it is. It looks like there's a lot of 2/1s for 2 and zombies and things with haste and whatnot. It might be tough to actually play this card. I think it's more of an EDH card, for fun card. Maybe it's okay as a topper in your limited deck. But interesting, this clue thing, and then also if you have a lot of cards with investigate, maybe it gets better. But it does let you draw a card, but it costs 2 mana every turn, and then the other effect requires at least 3 turns or other effects with investigate. And this Brain the Jar reminds me of Jar of Eyeballs. This one seems a little bit better though. You tap 1, put a charge counter on it. You can cast an instant or sorcery card with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Brain in a Jar without paying its mana cost. So you had a Ponder in your hand. You could tap this, put a charge counter, and cast Ponder for free. Not for free because you just paid 1 mana, but if you keep charging this thing up, you can cast cards that are expensive several turns later. And then if you tap 3 mana and tap this artifact, you can remove however many charge counters you want and scry. So, not a really great card. It's another one of those Jar of Eyeballs kind of flavorful card. I'm sure people will try to play it, but how many instants or sorcery cards are you really playing in your limited deck? But anyway, cool card, Brain in a Jar. Actually, on my last clinical rotation, I actually saw a Brain in a Jar, which was kind of neat to see a Brain actually in a jar. So thanks for watching. A little bit different format. Getting tired now. I just know what's making me so sleepy, but I appreciate what you guys think. Check out this website. They pretty much have every. You can sort by color. You can sort it by the expansion, cycles. It's a pretty cool website, and it's pretty well displayed. And once they do get better arts, like this blurry one you can see here, they will update that with the new art. They usually get these from people who are leaking things, like these flash. I mean, come on. If you're going to leak a card, can you at least take the flash away? I mean, we're in 2016. Just turn the flash on your iPhone off. It's Friday night, or Saturday night, actually, sorry. Hope you guys have a great Saturday night or Sunday morning or whenever you're watching this. And I'll see you next time.